it was very riskless again.
Mm-hmm.
Disney, you know Disney.
It felt like
Disney
with their classic risk. It felt like a Marvel movie,
kinda.
oddly in that sense. Yep. You know what I mean? Like
they did some stuff that I did really like. I liked the character interactions a lot. I liked the plot.
Yep.
The plot was again very predictable because you know the character already.
Exactly.
And you knew nothing bad was going to happen. You knew, basically everything would be.
But
fine.
the movie was entertaining enough.
Yeah, it was entertaining. Where that didn't matter that much, but it still does matter.
Mm-hmm. You're still engrossed into what's happening for the most part. And,
you just know nothing's going to go bad. There's not many twists and turns that could take, which sucks, but they made it entertaining enough.
They did.
Where it doesn't suck enough to be bad.
Mm-hmm. That's a weird, accurately way of putting it. What'd you think of the performances in this movie?
I don't like the main guy still.
See, I don't mind the main guy. I think he's really selling it.
He's fine.
He's taking the role, and I think he's making it his own.
He's fine. If you're going off of an already established character, being more like that established character is a smart decision.
Mm-hmm.
He is doing it his own way, and his own way is not bad, but I don't feel like he's the character. I'm still not sold on that.
Upon rewatching, now the first time I watched it, I felt like it was a nice standalone movie, and I still feel that way. But rewatching that ending, which by the way, that ending with the certain character we're not going to get to yet is fantastic.
Yeah, we're not getting to that yet, but that was actually the best part of the movie.
That was so good. But I feel like a lot of what they were kind of alluding to. At first, I thought it was just referencing the original trilogy, like, oh, we're gonna go to this planet that I'm not gonna say to talk to this guy that I'm not gonna talk about.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Not yet, but they're gonna go do that. So I figured, it's just tying in.
Touch, yeah,
it's a nice little tie-in. But upon rewatching, it starts to come more and more clear that that's more for a sequel than it is anything else, and that kind of dampened things a little bit. But it's just a little touch.
It can tie into the original, or it can tie into the sequel, depending on how well it does.
And I think that's on purpose.
What they're going for.
That's on purpose. So now, since the box office is not stellar, they're going to be like, all right, well, this is just a standalone tale.
Yeah.
So that's that.
I like the performances, though.
All around,
Everyone's really solid.
All the acting.
My boy Donnie.
Yeah.
Donnie Glover. The best guy.
Definitely.
He sold his performance.
Absolutely. I will say that Star Wars is like a film series. Episodes 1 through 6 are not known for their acting. Even the good Star Wars movies are not known for their great acting.
No, they're not.
They're known for their competent to weird acting.
Yep.
But in this one, you have that right level of weird. And honestly, in all 4 of the recent Star Warses, I think the acting is better.
Yeah, well, that's because people know how to act now.
We've learned the art of acting over the past 20 years.
Think about it. Mark Hamill now is real good, but back in the day, he was like, gee willikers, Yoda, what am I going to do?
No, but that's the look that they wanted.
Yeah, that's the charm.
Exactly, and it worked a lot.
They don't have great acting, but they had charm.
Yeah.
And that charm really carried them through. The plot and the writing, of course, carried it as well. And the fact that the effects were good for the 70s.
Well,
really,
everything was good for the 70s.
Even the acting was good for the 70s.
Yeah, the acting worked for that time period and that special circumstances that made that movie so good. Yeah. Those 3 movies so good. In these ones, in the latest 4, and...
I said the acting is better, but the writing is less creative.
I'd say especially in Rogue One and Last Jedi, I'd say the acting is really special.
Yeah, no, the acting in Rogue One's not the problem.
Absolutely.
Definitely
I think
everyone
over the past
really sells it.
And Donald Glover.
He sold his character. You know how I'm a little bit skeptical about Edwin Veglik,
the main guy playing Han Solo.
Yeah, Donald Glover is Billy D. Williams incarnate in that. He acts.
I cannot believe he almost out Billy D. Williams.
Yes, I was so impressed.
You know what? Almost. I was
so impressed.
He's reaching those heights, and I love it.
He was great. The guy Deckard.
Mm-hmm.
Not Deckard. That's
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson.
That's his character's name.
Yeah, Beckett, not Deckard. Deckard's Blade Runner rape guy. Woody Harrelson's great in everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to complain about Woody Harrelson. He's fantastic.
He's so talented.
My wife did great. I was very surprised because the only movie I've ever seen her in was Terminator Genesis, and that's dog shit.
So this is a good return to form.
Oh, yeah.
She's got a good movie under her belt.
Great.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about positives or negatives first? We've talked about random things so far.
We can talk about a little bit more positives. The cinematography is really nice.
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of bad CG. I didn't notice any bad CG anyways. Yep. Star Wars is really good with that most of the time. There's only, the definitive 90s versions have the bad CG.
But
it's garbage. But in the newer ones that actually have CG at all, they're really good. They normally do really, really well with that.
Right,
That's
right.
something they flourish with.
Absolutely.
The story was actually really good. I liked all the little twists and turns that we'll talk about a little
Going
bit.
off of the cinematography, I want to say that it felt very Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, it felt very original trilogy. It felt more Star Wars in this movie than any of the 3 prequels felt Star Wars. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I haven't seen the prequels, so I have no...
Yeah, you got no input yet, but you're getting there. A lot of it felt authentic. It felt like I was back in that world.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, spin-offs and sequels, what they'll do is they'll make the world feel small instead of making it feel big.
Yeah,
So
this
made it
felt
feel
really big.
Yeah.
Because especially with the hyperspace stuff, and they were on different planets.
I loved Paul Bettany's villain. Dryden Voss is his name, I believe.
He's not, like, super dimensional, but he's good. He's good enough.
I think, yeah.
Because he's an under-villain to the big guy.
I was about to say, there's not a whole lot,
Yeah.
but everything that Paul Bettany has, he's working...
He's also really
He's
talented.
elevating with his
Again.
acting.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the acting point, but I feel like Paul Bettany really does take what's there and bring it to another level.
Yeah.
If it weren't him in that role or someone like him doing that level of talent, it wouldn't have been as a compelling villain.
No, absolutely not. Because
So-
he has that... Paul Bettany has this weird vibe to him.
I've seen him in a few brilliant things, but lately I've only seen him in Transcendence and the Marvel movies. And both of those he plays like really stilted characters who talk
Yes.
like this and talk about the universe
But
really sadly.
even when he's Vision, you remember in Avengers Infinity War, when he's actually looking like Paul Bettany, he has this weird look to him, where he's not like a weird looking guy.
Exactly.
But his eyes really tell what he's doing. He's very... like eye heavy acting.
Very true, and you can tell that like his character is obviously literally robotic, but his dialogue kind of reflects that. We forget, without movies like this, we forget how great of an actor he can be.
He acted
Because-
with his eyes a lot in this movie. He had the crazy eyes
Yeah,
going on.
he's
and
fantastic.
that was great because his character was literally fucking insane.
Oh yeah, I love it. But he's insane, but like with that point,
incompetence, insane
I never-
for a survival.
exactly.
Yeah.
I never felt like he was like fake or
No, he
or
was
just
really good.
like a plot hole or anything. It felt very tight.
Yeah.
and very
No,
great.
the plot of this movie, I have to give it credit because it's an established character and they already have a lot of the stuff established in the universe. They really had something to go off of.
You can tell
It's airtight.
from the editing and the pacing. It was very I don't want to say trimmed down, but I'd say condensed.
Yeah.
like it was meant. I don't want to say it was meant for longer, but obviously with all like the reshoots and everything like that, you can a little bit feel that this movie was like
Yeah, there is one scene that I felt like where it came from. There was definitely a part cut out, and then it went to it, and I think Han Solo said something, and I'm like, why did it cut from that to that? That's the only bad cut for me. I was just like, they're missing something here.
a little bit of editing. There's a scene where, and this is super, we're transitioning a little bit to negatives. We can go all the way around, doesn't matter. But there's a scene where he first meets your wife at the party.
My wife.
Yes, exactly. And they're talking back and forth, like, oh, you made it out. And it goes from this wider, closer shot. It's weird to say wider, closer, but it's a shot reverse shot.
Yep.
But the angle at which it was at was zoomed out a little bit more, and it shifts to this closer up, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a more passionate moment, and it is a more passionate moment. But then, towards the end, it shifts back to the wider cuts, and I notice, oh, they're mixing in reshoots with already shot footage.
Yeah.
I've done this in the past when making my terrible student films.
Yep.
I know I can spot it like a fucking metaphor that would make sense in this certain context I'm talking
I could
about.
spot it like I was a World War II Russian sniper trying to assassinate a Nazi.
Thank you for this
welcome.
oddly specific metaphor. But like I was looking at that
worked.
and I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, it definitely is. That's totally that.
Yeah, it's like it's not as obvious as Justice League, but it's a little obvious.
Oh, Justice League had the most glaring, offensive versions of this I've ever seen in my life. In any big blockbuster, I'd say.
Yeah.
The most glaring reshoots. But this one, you can see
a little bit.
I want to call it the seams, as if like little bits of clothing, those little strands.
Yeah, okay.
Like you can notice little seams, but as a whole, I think it was edited together by Oscar-winning Ron Howard very well. And also, Ron Howard is a great choice because he was offered to direct episode 1, the prequel.
And he said, "No,
and he
this
said
is
no.
bad."
He's like, no, you should direct it, Lucas. Now, him saying that got us the prequels the way they are, but aside from that, I still think he's a great choice for it. The fact that he would even offer that. So.
Okay, so I think you made the right move. I'm not gonna lie. George Lucas brought us 3 good movies there.
Yes, true. But, so I feel like this is a fun, competent
Yeah.
movie.
We're
like
still talking about positives? Soundtrack. Star Wars movie.
Oh my god.
Great job.
I think they
Again.
did a wonderful job melding the original score in with this, and they did that better than Rogue One. And this whole movie is kind of better than Rogue One, in my opinion. And I liked Rogue One. I'm not one of
I'm
the
the
guys.
opposite, but Rogue One is a competent movie. I can never say anything bad about that.
I think
in general.
Yeah, I think this is a step up from Rogue One. Not quite the height of 7 or 8. Episode 7 or Episode 8.
Yeah, well, it's not one of the main series movies.
That's true.
It might be close to 8 because of a lot of the things wrong with 8. I feel like 8 also has the didn't take risks problem.
Well,
But it had more useful screen time, and that's a real big
Well, it's weird
detractor.
because Episode 8 has bigger problems, but it also has bigger positives.
Yeah,
and that's another
I'm
point.
going to talk about that
So-
when we get to negatives in a second.
I'm kind of transitioning immediately because what
this
I
movie
feel...
didn't have that moment. You know that moment, right? Like in a Star Wars movie where you go,
Exactly. Ooh, this is great. Yeah.
This movie didn't really have that moment. It had that one small moment at the end that was good, but
We're spoiling it now, by the way.
yeah,
Darth fucking Maul. Holy
Okay.
shit.
I was like, yeah. And when they have the twist with my wife and Darth Maul, I'm like,
But now
That's
it's
good
like
writing.
the movie ends, and I'm thinking to myself, can I watch that movie?
Yeah.
I want to watch the Darth Maul Kira movie.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would, or I think that they were doing is they were like, oh, in a sequel, Han Solo could fight Darth Maul and your wife, and I'm thinking, oh my god, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I know he can't.
Sith Lord.
I know he
can't fight a
can't.
double side. Okay, guy with small pistol with a useless scope. Double sided lightsaber
Okay,
guy.
but some farmer dude versus the most powerful guy in the galaxy. 3 movies later, he's beaten. You know what I mean?
At least he has the Force. Han Solo doesn't.
So Han Solo can get a ragtag group of criminals.
I digress. That movie does sound way better. Mm-hmm. But Han Solo lose immediately, and
Exactly,
you know he doesn't
yeah.
die, so they can't do it.
Okay, so I agree, and honestly, I think we're in the same mind about this. But this movie felt so safe and
It
very
was too
PC
safe.
and
I'm
very
really sad.
And it's a fine, fun, and I keep going back to a fun story because it is fun and entertaining, but it didn't really add
Yeah,
anything to
it
anything. It
falls-
didn't really advance the stories.
It falls flat in just a small bit. Episode 8 would have fallen flat if it didn't have those moments. The
Yeah.
Kylo Ren Rey interactions, the ship going.
Light speed, yeah. Oh,
That is the best scene in the movie.
genuinely brilliant moments like
They
that.
have moments like this, but they also have Princess Leia floating through space moment. So, you know, we have to
Exactly.
take that with a grain of salt. This movie didn't have Princess Leia floating through space, but it had none of the big moments.
Exactly.
None of those moments that make you go, damn, I'm excited
And
to
I
see this
still
movie."
feel that this movie is a better movie than Rogue One, but that ending of Rogue One
was like 5 minutes of that moment.
oh my god, that moment.
Yeah.
I feel like
This-
that ending of Rogue One might be comparable to anything else we've seen in the recent Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
But
like the ending to that movie.
It beats everything else in this movie out of the water.
Yeah.
As far as real like highlights of things that I genuinely loved, everything with Han meeting and befriending Chewie.
Yeah, their
whole dynamic.
interaction's cute. I like that. The character interactions, I already said, very big positive.
If you're gonna
lot
do
of
a movie-
character interactions are great. If
Yeah.
you're gonna do a Han Solo movie, you got to.
You gotta nail those two. You know
He's
what I
not
mean?
overly interesting as a guy. He's a dickhead.
He's a
and in this
dickhead.
movie, he's not enough of a dickhead, but we digress that. We're moving on from that. They took their own take on the character, and I wanted him to be a little bit more not sinister, but
I
like
kind of bought it because in this context, this is like many, many years before New Hope, and in that case, he's more of a dickhead later in life. But at this point, he's more of just like fronting, like
Yeah.
we got a bunch of trained gunmen in that ship over there. They'll fly away.
I just want him to be more there. You know how Han Solo is, the little smug, like that little "I'm the best, you suck dick." Like this is it. He didn't do that to anybody. He wasn't like, "Yeah, you fucking suck." He was just like,
yeah.
"Yeah, I'm cool, I guess."
Yeah.
He wasn't there yet.
I took that as him being younger, though, so I don't hate that.
I
I would
know,
have.
it's
I would have
just-
hated it if he was suddenly nice. Like that would have been complete 180
yeah.
from the character.
Yeah, hey,
buddy,
like,
champ.
hey, champ. Boy, he's like a dad. Like,
Exactly.
fuck that.
But no, I think everything with him and Chewie,
Yeah.
the whole there's a beast introduction. That introduction is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's not the best part of the movie because of the Darth Maul thing. But aside from the Darth Maul thing, is probably the best part of the movie is that whole sequence with that.
But that isn't comparable to like the Rey Kylo Ren interactions. It's not comparable because those interactions when they're like in each other's minds and they're doing that and there's that whole build up. Oh, it's so good. That whole part is so good.
Absolutely.
And then this movie doesn't have the big moment, and I
Doesn't
really
have
wish
that
it
big
did.
moment,
It's there are not enough lightsabers.
I know there was no lightsaber in the movie until the very end where we saw a hologram of one lightsaber. Now it's Darth Maul's double kick-ass lightsaber, granted, so that does compensate
Not
a little
enough
bit.
lightsaber.
Compensates a little bit, but at the same time,
It's a Star Wars movie.
it's a Star Wars movie without lightsabers.
Negatives. This
Okay.
movie did have a little bit.
I already talked about the seams through the cracks
Yeah.
of the reshoots.
But that's expected if a movie reshoots sometimes.
My main issue is what we already talked about.
It's
with
just too safe.
too bland.
Listen,
Yeah.
Disney, I'm fucking telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Take it from an expert on film. I've seen like 6 movies. You gotta take a little bit more risks. I know being safe is great and you make billions of dollars and shit. But this movie's not making billions of dollars because you're playing it too safe.
If we could actually shift a little bit off of the movie itself and talk about why it's losing a little bit of box office, I hear a lot of Star Wars fans saying, "Oh, it's because we didn't even want this movie." I'm sure it's a part of it, but it's
Yeah,
opening
actually.
weeks after Infinity War and Deadpool 2.
Yep.
Mere weeks, and one of them is a Disney property that they knew would make billions of dollars.
We get an actual number. Of
Oh,
course.
opening weekend, $84 million.
Wow, that's bad.
Projected were 150, and it lowered to 115 after the Thursday night showings, which weren't terribly high. Like, they were high, but hello for a Star Wars movie. And it lowered to the actual number, which is $84.4 million in opening weekend. $103 million over the 4-day weekend, if you count that.
That's really bad.
Far below projections and marking the lowest Star Wars debut since Attack of the Clones in 2002.
Okay. Do you think it's because of oversaturation?
Oversaturation with Star Wars?
Yep.
I think that's a factor, yes.
Yeah,
My main
okay,
factor
good.
that I was talking about was, it's
No one wanted it.
not no one wanted it. The competition in this
Okay.
particular month, I think it's a stupid movie, especially when one of them is Disney, Infinity War.
And Deadpool just came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Too, and
1 week before. Han
Deadpool was a
Solo.
better movie than this.
Yeah. So opening against that is not smart. And on top of that, exactly what you're talking about. Star Wars oversaturation. Star Wars has had this setup of trilogies that span 3 years apart each one.
Yep.
And they're separated by like a decade or so. Because that whole original trilogy happened, a decade went by. Prequel trilogy happened, a decade went by. Sequel trilogy is happening. Sequel trilogy is happening 2 years apart, but in between those 2 years is a spin-off Star Wars movie. So every year is a new Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Now that's well and good because they're making bank at first, but they have to know that that's going to die down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that certain executives at Disney are thinking to themselves, well, Marvel's doing the same thing, but Marvel has a very different setup. When they make Ant-Man, they don't need $1 billion because Ant-Man is lower budget than the rest of the movies because they know it's not their big team event movie. That way, if they make $500 or $600 million on Ant-Man, which I think they did, they make a profit.
7. I believe
Seven,
it's
yeah.
7.
So they made that
Which
and a
is
little
a
bit
big
more because
profit.
their name is Marvel right now. But even if they were making like five or 600 million, they'd still be making a profit because they're smart.
Yeah.
Solo, after the reshoots and everything, needs about
Costs a lot of
500
money.
million to break even at the box office, which is
What it might end up making
it
total.
might end up evening everything out, just like Justice League, which is a disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, it says Star Wars on it, for heaven's sakes,
Yep.
So their idea of marveling their property by spinning everything off and having the big team event movies, first of all, they need their movies to be good, and so far, consistently, they've made either meh to good or great
Yeah.
movies. You know what I mean?
I'd say
that
that a
standard.
majority of them are good.
They're keeping a standard of quality as best they can. It's Disney, after all. They do that with Pixar, they do that with Marvel, doing that with Star Wars so far.
Yep.
But they can't expect $1 billion every movie if they're going to release them once a year. They can expect that if they take a break and then do it once every 3 years, once every 2 years, then they
Yeah,
can get
once
those-
every 2 years they can even do it.
Yeah,
and
they've
you know what?
been doing
$1
that.
billion every 2 years is a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you also make billions of dollars on Marvel movies.
Absolutely, and I agree completely.
I think they're milking the cash cow a little dry.
I think their strategy is inherently flawed, and they're starting to see the repercussions of that. Because so far, they've only had billion-dollar movies. They've
Yep.
had $3 billion movies in a row. No franchise can really say that,
No.
except for a franchise like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or something else ridiculous like that.
Yep.
So
Harry Potter even too.
Harry Potter, yep. I think the last couple made $1 billion. I don't know about 3, but still, they make almost $1 billion per movie. Those things. But in any case, they can't expect the same kind of Marvel numbers from Star Wars if they go at it with the idea that, it says Star Wars, therefore it'll make $1 billion.
That's stupid.
Yeah, they shouldn't expect $1 billion every single time because even for a franchise, the biggest, most successful franchise of all time, that's still unreasonable.
Yeah.
So
it really is.
this to me is a
And-
reality check to them.
Yeah, it should be, and hopefully they learn from it. If not, we'll see Solo 2 at some point. If they do,
Making a Solo 2, if it ends up making like 500, 600, $700 million-ish dollars.
do you think they'll call it Duo?
No, I don't know if they call it because they already can't call it Han Solo because they didn't call it Han Solo.
Yeah.
Solo 2 is a terrible title. We haven't really had like singular numbers at the end of like Star Wars titles before. We've had like the
Yeah.
Roman numerals at the beginning.
What about Solo Episode 5?
2? Solo episode 2.
5. It'd be 4, 5, 6, but in the Solo trilogy. And then we have the Solo
the prequels, the Solo sequels.
And when he's a baby, and he's really shitty, annoying, and played by Hayden Christensen.
And then the sequel trilogy will intercut with Solo spin-offs.
We get a Lando spinoff, that which I would not complain if it was Donald Glover again.
I'm sure it's in the works. A lot of things are in the works over there.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of funny where, oh no, we didn't make as much as our other company that we also own.
Yeah.
I think. But in any case, it's still Star Wars.
Yeah.
Episode 9 will crack $1 billion because it's the conclusion of that trilogy. After
I don't know.
You don't know?
Because, now hear me out, people are very divisive over the new trilogy. I'm not going to lie. It's either people like it, people don't like it because it's not what they want and not their originals, and the originals are the only good ones, or racists and sexists. That divides into good, bad. A lot of fans are divided on this. I think it will make between 8 and 1.2.
8 and 1.2, that's a good range.
But it could hit the lower end of that range, which is not
if it
good
makes
for them.
$800 million, assuming that there's no horrible reshoots from firing directors or whatever that happens, assuming that it just needs like $300 to $400 million to break even, and it makes 800, that's still a success.
That's definitely a success, but it's not going to be the success they're looking for.
Absolutely.
And they'll probably take a break.
Hopefully.
Or they'll make 800 Obi-Wan Kenobi movies with one PK droid Gak droid spin-off
Exactly.
movie.
And it's never the quality of the movie or how much people like a movie that dictates whether a studio should make another one. It's always the money.
Yep.
So if Transformers gets $1 billion, they'll make 10 more. But if The Last Night underperforms, then they'll stop making them. And if Solo is finally the one to not crack $1 billion, A, and B, maybe not even be terribly profitable, maybe only be a little bit profitable when it says Star Wars on it, that could be the kick in their ass that they need to focus a little bit more on what exactly fans want out of this franchise and what will get them more money in the future.
Yeah.
So.
Because sometimes a reality check's important. I think DC's been hitting their reality check over and over and over again and not looking at it. And Star Wars, this will be a reality check. And if Episode 9 divides the fans even more, because you know it will, people will see it just to complain about it too. Don't get me wrong. But some people won't. Some people are so sick and tired of, oh, they're safe, they're doing this, blah, blah, blah.
I think it'd be kind of funny if Episode 9 is generally not liked, because that means that Force Awakens is liked, Last Jedi is half and half, and then a 9 would be disliked.
Some people don't even like 7.
No, but that would mean that continuing with Star Wars fashion, half of them people like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except this one isn't certain movies, it's directly down the middle of the movies.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre.
That is really funny.
But
there are... I know people who don't like 7. I know people who don't like 8.
there's exceptions.
I know
to
people
the rule.
who love them. I think they're not as good as 4, 5, and 6. But they're good. They're not bad movies.
Yeah, exactly.
They are a little too safe.
I
Don't
agree.
get me wrong.
Well, I'd rather them be safe and entertaining and exciting and exhilarating. And obviously Han Solo sounds like it was just that, but not to the extent of Force Awakens or even Last Jedi.
Yeah, because both those movies had incredible moments. You're
Real
right.
moments and characters that no, the characters in Solo I'd say were really compelling.
They are really compelling. That's true. And that's the one criticism I had of Rogue One, which just made me think the movie's like average. I don't like it personally, but it's on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 5 because it's so competent. You can't say the movie's incompetent. You can't say it's poorly directed, written with character development, with the character things. But the characters in this movie interact beautifully. It's like a main movie with how they interact. It's important. It's compelling. It drives a story. It makes the story interesting. It makes all the turns in the story interesting.
And one last thing that I really actually was not a huge fan of. I liked the droid character L3.
Yep.
The one who's like complaining about droids wanting to be in the same level as people. I get that. That's a cool, interesting metaphor. But I didn't like when Lando's like, anything else I can get you, and she's like, equal rights.
That's funny.
I thought that term, equal rights, is a very human term. Like, that's a political stance that we have on Earth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is... She might as well have just said World War II or something oddly, like, very human. You know what I mean? Like, it's... Sorry.
Well, I don't know. She seemed very human.
It's Star Wars. None of them are technically humans.
Yeah.
And those two words conjunction together are very indicative of that point. You know what I mean? Like, of that equal rights issue with
Everything.
Like
Yeah.
diversity, minority, majority, all that shit. We're not a political show. I don't really give a shit about any of that. But my point is, when you're watching Star Wars, a droid saying equal rights, it takes you out of it. It took me out of it at any rate, because I feel like
I thought it was funny.
yeah, it's not a bad one liner for a movie that isn't Star Wars. That's not really Star Wars. That's not. Marvel could have made that joke. DC even could have made that joke because they're all on Earth. Trademark zingers like those. In any case, out of 10, what do you think?
I'd say like a 7.5, roughly.
7.5. See, I'm thinking between 6 and 7. I don't really know where to gauge my meter.
Probably leaning towards 7.